Jai Gurudev Bella, you can start.
Jai Gurudev. Om. 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 Gururbrahma Gururvishnuः Gururdevo Maheshwarah Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha Atha Dvadashodhyayah Bhakti Yogah मय्येव मन आधस्त्व मयि बुद्धिं निवेशय निवसिष्यसि मय्येव अत ऊर्ध्वं न संशयः अथ चित्तं समाधातुं न शक्नोषि मयि स्थिरम् अभ्यासयोगेन ततो मामि चाप्तुं धनञ्जय अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मध्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान् श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् क्षम्यतां ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम् अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखः सुखक्षमी तत्सत् सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll share the screen. So yesterday we were looking at the verse 11, I suppose. And Bhagwan is so compassionate. He said, if you cannot be a karta, you can just Based on your raga dvesha, you can, and based on your desire, you can do karma. But when it comes to the karma phala, you offer it to me. So I'll just read the last paragraph. So you need not offer the karma to Ishvara. Kindly let me know if there is too much breaking of voice. We can have Sumaj someone to read for me. So you need not offer the karma to Ishvara. You can simply take the from him. It is not inferior to offering karma to Ishvara because it amounts to the same thing. What is important is tyaga, renunciation. That is what is being prayed here. Karma phala tyaga amounts to renunciation of desire. Kama tyaga. When they are all offered to Ishvara, raga dveshas have no hold on you. Raga dvesha is kama, and the kama itself is renounced because you are accepting the result regardless of how well it matches your raga dvesha. When that is so, kama is as good as given up. It has no grip over you, which is all that is required for antahkarana shuddhi. Then, through that antahkarana, you will gain jnana. Therefore, give up the results of all actions. Tatah sarva karma phalatyagam kuru. Being a disciplined person, yatatmavan, his karma phalatyaga is as good as madhyoga, karma yoga, in which the action is performed for the sake of Ishvara and the result is taken as prasad. Here, if you think about Ishvara, when the result comes, that is good enough. When you pull onto the road, think of Ishvara. When the car stops, think of Ishvara. When you reach your destination, think of Ishvara. When you arrive in one piece, think of Ishvara. If you sustain some injury, thank God you are still alive. Thus, every karma phala is taken as something that comes from Ishvara. Thereby, your raga dveshas get neutralized. We have to act this out. It is not simply a matter of understanding here. Though understanding is necessary, the attitude stays with you when you keep on acknowledging that karma phala is from Ishvara. If you repeat it to yourself, not simply mechanically, you develop the attitude of prasada buddhi. Like when you make it a habit to say thanks, you develop an attitude of gratitude. Even though it may sometimes be mechanical, it has to be repeated to cultivate the attitude, which is the important thing here. When you say thanks, it may not always carry much meaning. Somebody opens the door for you or moves aside so you can pass him on the escalator and you say thanks, may be purely mechanical. But if you give it up altogether, the attitude may disappear. Therefore, that form has to be retained. Only then can the spirit be discovered. And it can be discovered because it is always there in some degree. You cannot say thanks without some element of gratitude. Similarly here, this is prasada or its equivalent has to be repeated. We must consciously acknowledge that everything that comes is from Ishvara. The awareness that He is karma phaladata has maintained by somehow expressing so that karma phalatyaga becomes a reality. In the process, Kama Tyaga also occurs, but Kritva Tyaga, renunciation of doership, does not, which is why it is not Jnana. As long as there is doership, only Karma Yoga is possible. And through Karma Yoga, you can gain Antakarana Shuddhi, which makes you ready for the knowledge. Kartritva, however, can be eliminated in one step by Shastra. Once the Raga Dveshas are neutralized, the Ahankara has no backbone. All you need is to be told you are Parmeshwara. If that jnana has no obstruction, pratibandha, there is no further problem. Just because he has said, if that is not possible, do this, karma phala tyaga is not in any way inferior. When you are allergic to aspirin, you take paracetamol. But that does not mean it is inferior. The effect is the same. If you cannot handle certain foods, you take others. Both nourish the body. If you cannot do one type of exercise, you do another. Both keep the body fit. It is the same thing here. One is not inferior or superior. Karma phala tyaga is as good as anything else. Pursue your ragadvesha, but renounce the results of your actions to Ishvara. Karma phala tyagam kuru. One good thing about this is that the Lord, being all pervasive, has no place to keep the results you offer. Thus, they remain with you. They are only mentally offered. This is Sarva Tyaga. Even though it is said lastly, it is not any way less than any of the other things suggested, because it will lead to the same thing. In fact, in the next shloka, it is declared as better than what has been told. This is a prashamsa, a praise of Tyaga. Now, praising Karma Tyaga, Bhagavan indicates that though it is said lastly, it is in no way inferior to the things already mentioned, because with it you gain Shanti. So beautifully, Bhagavan is so compassionate, he is giving every alternate. If not, you cannot do yoga, it's okay. Do karma, yoga. If you cannot do that also, keeping in me in mind, it's okay. When the results, you offer them to me. You accept the results as the prasad me. If you want me to repeat any paragraph, because there are some internet instability, please let me know if you want me to repeat. If you want to share anything, you can unmute and share. Okay. श्रेयो हि ज्ञानाभ्यासात् ज्ञानादानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्. Jnanam, knowledge, Shreyah is better. He indeed, Abhyasat, then the practice of yoga, Dhyanam, meditation, Jnanat, as compared to knowledge, Vishishyate is superior. Karma phala tyagaha, renunciation of the results of actions is better. Dhyanat, then meditation. Tyagat, because of renunciation. Shantihi, there is peace. Anantaram, immediately. Jnanam, Shreyah, Abhyasat, Jnanam, Jnanat, Vishishyate, कर्म फल त्यागः ध्यानात् त्यागात् shantihi anantaram. Knowledge is better. Knowledge is better indeed than the practice of yoga. Meditation is superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the results of action is better than meditation, because renunciation, there is peace immediately. I read once again, there is breaking of voice. Knowledge is better indeed than the practice of yoga. Meditation is superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the results of actions is better than meditation. Because of renunciation, there is peace immediately. Sarva karma phala tyaga, he says, is better for you. Shreyah, than the practice, abhyasa of Ashtanga Yoga, up to but not including dhyana. Shankara qualifies this as an abhyasa which is not preceded by discrimination, aviveka purvaka, a purely mechanical practice of asana, pranayama, etc., without clarity about what one is doing it for. That is purushartha viveka, or about what is temporal and what is not. Nitya anitya vastu viveka. Since the viveka is inadequate, so is his vairagya. He is not able to pursue or even ascertain what he really wants. The jnana here refers to knowledge of purushartha, that is, knowledge of what is to be done and what is not to be done. Since he does not have such jnana, he lacks viveka, and therefore his practice abhyasa also lacks viveka about what exactly he is seeking and what he is doing to achieve it. The abhyas of Ashtanga Yoga does not necessarily require viveka. Most people who practice what is commonly known as yoga have no Atma Anatma Viveka or Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. Often their purusha is purely the appearance or condition of body. They can as well do aerobics, though asanas are better for them because they need not eat as much as they would to do vigorous exercise. And yogasanas also come to us from the rishis. So they have a certain sanctity about them. But if you inquire into the yogi's concept of moksha, you will find it problematic. Therefore, you need not know what moksha is or have any viveka for abhyasa, which can mean any discipline. Even discipline, however, is better than the lack of it, for in following a discipline, you undergo pain, which can be a basis for growth. Any routine involves pain because there are times when it is difficult to follow, and in overcoming those difficulties, you grow. But a discipline followed without viveka is inferior to the viveka. And therefore, Bhagavan says, Shreya Jnana, knowledge is better. Jnana here is not Atma Jnana, but knowledge of Purushartha. So beautifully, Swamiji has explained how important our discipline is, whether it is about the time or the place where you do your daily sadhana, because it is to maintain that time, the place, it is not easy. You will come across so many challenges. You may not be able to do at the same time every day, but the discipline with which you do the abhyasa is important. Mere purushartha jnana accompanied by abhyasa is also not enough. It is to be understood that both jnana and abhyasa are retained in the progression. Therefore, he says, meditation upon Ishvara is better than mere knowledge of Purushartha. Jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. Dhyana includes karma yoga, as was already mentioned. Meditation, dhyana with karma yoga is still better, vishishyate, than knowledge of Purushartha, jnana, combined with practice, abhyasa of asana, pranayam, etc. I repeat, please pay attention. This is very important line. Mere purushartha jnana accompanied by abhyasa is also not enough. It is to be understood that both jnana and abhyasa are retained in the progression. There is continuous breaking of voice notification. Can somebody, because this is very important. Sumaji, are you there? If you can help to read, if it is too much breaking of voice, kindly take over.
Yeah, I can read.
There is too much breaking of voice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me before? Yeah, please, because this line is so important here. Even if you miss a word, you will not be able to connect. So from where it was too much, I mean, you want to read the beginning, Sarva Karma Phala Tyaga?
Since we were reading yesterday, so I didn't miss anything as such. But if anyone else
Okay.
wants to say anything where they want to read from, I'll start from there.
Yeah, you can start because I was just, okay.
Yeah.
The Abhyas of Ashtanga Yoga.
Okay. The Abhyasa of Ashtanga Yoga. Is my voice clear?
Yes, very clear, Suma. Screen is okay, right? For your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Abhyasa of Ashtanga Yoga does not necessarily require Viveka. Most people who practice what is commonly known as yoga have no Atma Anatma Viveka or Nitya Nai
Nitya Vastu Viveka.
Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka.
Anitya Vastu Viveka.
Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So the distinction between Atma and Anatma and Nitya and Anitya, real and apparent, that Viveka is not there for most yoga practitioners. Often their Purushartha is purely the appearance or condition of the body. They can as well do aerobics, though asanas are better for them because they need not eat as much as they would do to do vigorous exercise. And yogasanas also come to us from the rishis. So they have a certain sanctity about them. But if you inquire into the yogi's concept of moksha, you will find it problematic. Therefore, you need not know what moksha is or have any viveka for abhyasa, which can mean any discipline. Even discipline, however, is better than the lack of it, for in following a discipline, you undergo pain, which can be basis for growth. Any routine involves pain because there are times when it is difficult to follow, and in overcoming those difficulties, you grow. But a discipline followed without viveka is inferior to the Viveka, and therefore Bhagavan says, Shreyo hi jnanam, knowledge is better. Jnana here is not Atma Jnana, but knowledge of Purushartha. So knowledge of the effort. Mere Purushartha Jnana and Abhyasa
By Abhyasa. The
mere
screen is not.
Purushartha Jnana accompanied by Abhyasa is also not enough. It is to be understood that both Jnana and Abhyasa are retained in the progression. Therefore, he says, meditation upon Ishvara is better than mere knowledge of Purushartha. Jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. Dhyana includes Karma Yoga, as was already mentioned. Meditation, dhyana with Karma Yoga is still better, vishishyate, than knowledge of Purushartha Jnana combined with practice, abhyasa of asana, pranayama, etc. Finally, so I'll repeat this sentence, that is, knowledge of Purushartha Jnana combined with practice, abhyasa, etc. It's meditation is better than that. Meditation, dhyana with Karma Yoga. Meditation with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is accordance with Dharma. We saw that yesterday. So Karma Yoga in accordance with Dharma and meditation is better than all this practice of asana, pranayama, all that, and knowledge about it. Finally, he says that even better than dhyana is renunciation of the results of action, karma phalatyaga. Even though he mentions it lastly, implying it is the easiest, it is the best. Why? Because of the result it produces. Tyaga santihi.
Shantihi anantaram. Tyagat
Shantihi
anantaram.
Wow. It's very beautiful. So with Tyagam, you get Shanti, of the inner Shanti. Wow. Because of renunciation, there is peace immediately. The moment you recognize something is Ishvara Prasada, there is cheer, a composure, Shanti, which in turn qualifies you for immediate appreciation, Aparoksha Jnana of Atma. Since there is no hindrance, Akshara Brahma becomes a reality. Further, the Shanti gained by Karma Phalatyaga is gained immediately. Antaram, Anantaram, not later. So it is gained immediately. Further, Shanti gained by Karma Phalatyaga is immediate, not later. If you receive all Karma Phala as prasada, you have an antidote to sorrow, dukkha, gain and loss. Labha, labha,
Labha
labha, success and failure. Jaya, jayu.
Jaya Jayu.
Jaya, jayu. Because
Jaya
you are Jaya, jayayu. Jaya, jayayu. Jayayu. Jaya, jayayu.
Jayu.
Jaya, jayayu.
There are two words. Jaya Ajaya, Labha Alabha.
So success and failure, loss and gain, all that is, it doesn't affect you because you've already done the tyaga of it. And therefore, there is no hindrance in your consciousness. So immediately.
Can you read this again, this paragraph, Sumanji?
Yeah.
Tyaga Shanti Anantaram from.
Yeah. Tyagat Shanti Anantaram. Because of renunciation, there is peace immediately. The moment you recognize something as Ishvara Prasada, there is a cheer, a composure, Shanti, which in turn qualifies you for immediate appreciation, a paroksha jnana of Atma. So immediately you get the knowledge of Atma. Since there is no hindrance, Akshara Brahma becomes a reality. Further, the Shanti gained by Karma Phala Tyaga is gained immediately, Anantaram, not later. If you receive all Karma Phala as Prasada, you have an antidote to sorrow, Dukkha, gain and loss, Labha Labha, success and failure, Jaya Jayao, because you are not subject to elation or depression. Success is prasada, and not getting what you wanted is prasada, as well as just as a sweet laddu is as much prasada as ashes, vibhuti. So success is prasada, and not getting what you wanted is prasada as well. As well as just as a laddu is as much a prasada as ashes, vibhuti. That prasada buddhi is what is praised here as karma phala tyaga. Such a buddhi has shanti and is capable of knowing. Wow. Though the renunciation of, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Please go ahead.
So this is the easiest, but yet it gives you the result immediate, karma phala tyaga. And get accepting everything as prasada from Ishvara, that immediately quietens your mind. And in that shanti, you get knowledge of the Atma. Wow. Though the renunciation.
This is what sorry. I
Yeah.
just want to draw everyone's attention here. This paragraph is very important because this is what I have been talking about, renunciating the karma phala, whatever we get of our karmas. Like don't look down upon other family members who may be eating oily food, spicy food or whatever, or non-veg food. Just you keep doing your actions and then you will touch base with your Atma is what this paragraph is saying. Renunciation of all the efforts of our karmas. Whether you get vibhuti or you get laddu, it doesn't make a difference. Then you will not be in dukkha. Why am I born in this family? Why this is happening? All that, when we drop all that, that is renunciation. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Pasiji. So, though the renunciation of karma phala is praised here, it looks as though it is meant for the person who cannot accomplish anything else. It is last in a sequence in which each recommendation of Bhagavan is followed by asaktosi yadhi. If you are not, can you raise the page, please? If you are not capable of doing this, but Bhagavan's phrasing here is in keeping with Arjuna's question as to who is better, meaning who is nearer to moksha, the one who pursues Akshara Brahma or a karma yogi meditating upon the Vishwarupa. So Bhagavan's knowledge is not just for these two sets of people, it is for everybody. In one sentence, he is given the jnani, what he can do, what the karma yogi can do, and even the ajnani can do. Ajnani, this is the best, karma phalatya. So compassionate. In answer to Arjuna's question, Lord Krishna first said that the one who meditates upon Saguna Brahma and pursues a life of Karma Yoga is definitely nearer to moksha. But the other is already mukta, in as much as the Shastra considers a sannyasi, almost liberated, a mukta purusha. Being a sannyasi, he is mature and therefore his knowledge will be unhindered. For this reason, he is spoken of as a jnani, who cannot be compared to the ignorant. These jnanis, Bhagavan went on to say, necessarily become one with me. Then he speaks again about the karma yogi, saying, I become the savior for them. Tesham aham samudharta. Because of their upasana, which is an action, he must, as the karma phaladata, give the result. Thus, he provides them with opportunities for this knowledge and makes them qualified for it, indirectly becoming a savior. The Akshara Brahma Upasaka, however, does not require the intervention of Ishvara because Ishvara's grace is already with them. That is why he is pursuing this. We have seen that a person has an inclination for Advaita only because of the grace of Ishvara. Pumsam Advaita Vasana Ishvaranugrahad eva. So, only because the person has grace of Lord, he has the inclination towards Advaita. It is because he has earned the grace of Ishvara that he even has the samskaras for this pursuit. Such a person no longer requires an intervening Ishvara because he is non-separate from Ishvara and has discovered that there is no problem. Therefore, a jnana yogi, otherwise called a sannyasi, is one with Ishvara, whereas the other person requires the grace of Ishvara in order to gain antakarana shuddhi and antakarana naishchalya. For him, Ishvara becomes the savior. Lord Krishna is saying, the jnanis become one with me, and for karma yogis, I am the samudhartha, the savior. Samudhartha, the savior. This is the difference between the ajnani and the jnani. In this verse, he is talking only about the ignorant, not the jnanis, whom he has left out of this discussion because they cannot be compared to the ignorant. Later, he will come back to them. Shankara introduces the next verse, noting that in this meditation upon Saguna Brahma, accompanied by Karma Yoga, the difference between the Jiva and Ishvara is accepted. Both Karma Yoga, which is doing karma for the sake of Ishvara, Ishvarartham Karma Anushtana, and meditation in which there is a meditator and an object of meditation are for the person who has this Veda Jnana, the conclusion that he is different from Ishvara, from the world, and from other individuals. He may accept non-difference, abheda, as a matter of faith, but he has no knowledge of it. If that appreciation is not possible for you, asaktosi yadi. Bhagavan then gives some options. The choice is only regarding various means for antakarna shuddhi and antakarna naishchalya, not with reference to moksha, which is jnana. Choice can only exist when there is a possibility for it. If you want to see a color, can you choose whether to see it with your eyes or your ears? Here, you have no choice. Similarly, Moksha is only through knowledge. Jnanat eva moksha. The self is already liberated. It cannot and need not be accomplished by any karma, including a mental karma like Saguna Brahma Upasana. This meditation is not a means to remove ignorance, but to win the grace that will give you steadiness of mind, antakarana naishchalya. And for that antakarana shuddhi, there is karma yoga. Being in the thick and thin of the world with all your raga dveshas, you can neutralize them with the right attitude and grow in the process. So for inner maturity, which is called inner purity, you require karma yoga, and for the sake of naishchalya, the steadiness of the mind, you require upasana. So that's very clear. For antakarna shuddhi, you need karma yoga. For antakarna naishchalya, you need upasana, saguna brahma upasana. This is what is praised here. And the one who does this was praised earlier as the best of the yogis, Yoga Vittatma. Again, this whole section only deals with the Anyani. When he says that if you cannot gain knowledge, you can do Karma Yoga, it looks as though there are independent paths for moksha and you can choose one among them. There is no such thing. If you are already liberated, it is a matter of knowledge. And if you are not, there is no possibility of getting liberated. If the self is bound, it is forever bound. And if it is free, it is free even now. But it is free. But if it is free and you think that it is not, your problem is one of ignorance. To remove that, you require Vedanta Pramana, nothing else. Choice applies only in gaining Antakarna Shuddhi, etc., for which there are a number of possibilities, including prayer. If, on the basis of this, one were to claim that all religions lead to the same goal, he is speaking only within the framework of Ajnana, ignorance. Whether you pray to Krishna, Rama, Shiva, Allah, or any other god, there is division, and this has nothing to do with jnana. Choice is only within the framework of division, where there is an attempt to gain something that is removed from you in terms of time or distance, or get rid of something you now have, and it is to be accomplished through action. Karma sadhya. Suppose you want to accomplish an end like gaining money. For that, you require effort, which can be any of 100 different things, including buying a lottery ticket. It is a karma sadhya, something that is not with you now and is to be gained by you, for which you require karmas done either in this life or a previous life. We have to include the karma of previous lives to account for inheritance, lottery tickets, stock market gains, etc. They are also earned. The point is that in anything that is to be accomplished by karma, choice is always involved. You can do it, you need not do it, or you can do it differently. Karma kartum sakyam, akartum sakyam, anyatava kartum sakyam. But that is not so in knowledge. What choice do you have? If you have to see the color of an object, you have to open your eyes. And having opened your eyes, if they are not defective, you will see only the color of the object, not any other color. Knowledge does not lend itself to choice. It is as true as the object, provided the means of knowledge is appropriate. Therefore, all the choices Bhagavan has given in these verses are only within the framework of ignorance. They have nothing to do with jnana. If you are not able to meditate, then do yoga abhyasa. So that your mind will gain the composure to meditate. If even that is not possible, then live a life of karma yoga, doing all your karma for the sake of Ishvara, meaning conforming to the law of dharma, recognizing the law as Ishvara. If that is also not possible, give up the results of karma, karma phala tyaga, tyagam kuru, graciously accepting whatever comes as a result of your actions. Thereby, you will get shanti. So, karma phala tyaga is not to be considered inferior to any other pursuit because the result shanti makes the mind ready for moksha by jnana. The entire Shastra says, Tat Tvam Asi, you are Brahman. That is why you are liberated. You are anything other than that. There is no freedom because there is isolation from Ishvara. And therefore, Jnanath Moksha, it is not just said in the Gita. All the Puranas, even the Itihasas, repeatedly say the same thing as does Shastra, which of course is the Pramana. Shankara once again makes it clear all comparisons are among the means of self-purification, etc. for the Ajnani. The Jnanis are to be left alone in this. Te tavat tishtantu.
Te tavat tishtantu. Te
Te
tavat
tavat
tishtantu.
te tavat
Tavat tishtantu.
Te tavat tishtantu. Among these means, one is prayer, which brings about a definite result regardless of its form, whether it is a highly sophisticated prayer or that of a tribal person. It invokes the same Ishvara. Both the sophisticated and the primitive are ignorant, praying to Ishvara with the belief that he is listening to them. There is no difference whatsoever. The difference comes only when the Lord has said, I am you. The difference comes only when the Lord has said, I am you, with a basic shraddha in that. There is a provisional difference in the prayer of a jignasu. He does not accept division as a reality, even though for the time being it appears to exist. His prayer is that he will discover the reality, though he does not have the vision of non-duality, abheda buddhi. Because of his shraddha, he pursues the study of Shastra to discover that. It is pursuit. The whole approach is different. In this pursuit, the whole approach is different, including prayer. That is why the package of a religion is also important. It should allow for the pursuit of abheda because that is the final end. Even in a ritual, the intent, sankalpa, will be in keeping with this end. The religious aspect becomes as important as Vedanta because it allows Vedanta to become a reality. Religion is not mere prayer. It includes a theology, and if the theology is rooted in Veda and considers it blasphemous to think that you are Ishvara, it can vitiate the whole pursuit. If, on the other hand, the prayer comes from a heart which knows from the Shastra that it is praying only for Abheda, the whole approach is different. And although any form of prayer is ignorance, it is still needed to help one get free from that ignorance. Can you raise? In prayer, will is used and in fact is expressed in its highest form. If you have the will to earn money, it is not surprising because money will immediately produce a difference in your life. Similarly, if you want name, fame, power, etc., and you exert your will to get it, there is nothing extraordinary about that. But in prayer, there is no immediate result. Yet you still pray very earnestly. That means it is the highest expression of will, pure will. The jnanis, through prayer, etc., gained a certain disposition that made jnana possible. A mumukshu follows their example. Arjuna here is a mumukshu. He wants moksha, and Krishna gives him all these choices, which are only for mumukshus. In moksha, however, there is no choice because it is jnana. So, the choices are for mumukshus. Okay. Having talked about
this statement is very, very profound. I think we should, prayer is the highest expression of will, pure will. For our antakarana naishalya, it is required. The stability of the mind. It is such an important line. Please go ahead, Suman.
Yeah, because in prayer, when we pray from the heart, everything is one-pointed. Very, very correct. So the highest form of will is prayer. We never looked at it that way, no? We thought willpower is an action. It's actually a commitment.
Yes, with that Shraddha and Bhakti, no?
Mm-hmm. And faith, yeah, Shraddha, correct. Having talked about choices, he makes it clear that the result of all of them is the same, Shanti, with which you can gain jnana. As an upasaka, meditating and living a life of karma yoga, you gain Shanti. Karma yoga will give you the Shanti born of freedom from conflict, and meditation will also give you Shanti. As a simple karma yogi with karma phalatyaga, prasada buddhi is predominant, and anything that comes is recognized as coming from the Lord, who is the karma phaladata, giver of the fruits of action. You understand that you can only do, not create. You can only do, not create. creation, including the creation of the result of an action, takes place according to the law, which is Ishvara. So earlier he said in co-creation, you have to do your duty. See how the truth is paradoxical.
Yeah, he used the word participant.
Mm.
It's so very important. We just have to
Yeah.
put our efforts, and when the results is
The
there, you
knowledge is
have to.
getting finer and finer, no? Now, what were you saying? Sorry, Belaji, I interrupted.
No, it's okay. Please go ahead. It is the same thing. We have to do our duty. Then rest we have to leave it on him. Whether it is the laddu or the ashes, whatever comes, we have to accept it as a prasada.
Mm. Yeah. Now, the characteristic of the one who has jnana are described again for Arjuna. The jnana itself is moksha, and giving the characteristics, lakshanas, of a jnani, Bhagavan shows how he is one with them, with him. The real definition of a jnani is the one who has jnana. It has nothing to do with his appearance or style of talking, etc. But there are certain characteristics of his interaction with the world in terms of his attitude towards things, like his own hunger, thirst, and situations he confronts. The way in which he interacts not only with people but all other beings becomes sadhana for the mumukshus. As sadhana, they are to be understood and pursued.
Sumaji, could you
Some
please read the last two lines again? Only the last two lines, very important lines.
Yeah. There are certain characteristics of his interaction with the world in terms of his attitude towards things, like his own hunger, thirst, and situations he confronts. The way in which he interacts not only with the people but all other beings becomes sadhana for the mumukshus. As sadhana, they are to be understood and pursued. So what Gurudev says, no? Fake it till you make it. So you have to practice what is natural to a jnani. So then the mumukshus will slowly move towards becoming that jnani. Some verses describing the jnani were given in the second chapter when Arjuna wanted to know the description of the Sthita Prajna, the wise man. Now, here is a further description which is useful for the mumukshu, because what is natural to a jnani, he can try to understand and assimilate as a value. These values are natural because they are in keeping with dharma and are therefore Ishvara. Any virtue is an expression of a particular law of the creation and is to be understood. Things like love, sympathy, compassion, etc. are not at all what we commonly experience, because the limitation of our understanding vitiates their expression. Even though they are experienced by all, they have to be assimilated. An appreciation of and conforming to the things that are going to be told here makes a person mature. Thereby, he can gain the knowledge. The way in which a jnani expresses himself in life is a sadhana for the ignorant, the seekers, but they are ornaments for him.
So beautiful, no?
Because we have not yet assimilated it in our intellect. Yeah. Next verse.
We go to the next verse and we can read, I think we can read little, then we can open for Manana, or we would like to discuss. Please let me know. Brahmaraji, what we should do? Should we read further or we can wait, stop for Manana? Kindly guide us.
I think we can read a little more for another 15 minutes and then we can break for Manana, right?
Okay. Dhanyavad. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankarah samadukha sukha kshami. Adveshta, the one who has no hatred, ill will, sarvabhutanam, for all beings. Maitrah, the one who has the disposition of a friend. Karunaha, the one who is compassionate. Evacha, and indeed. Nirmamaha, free from possessiveness. Nirahankaraha, free from the I notion. Sama, dukkha, sukha, equally pleasant and unpleasant circumstances. Kshami, one who is naturally accommodative. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karunah evacha nirmamah nirahankarah samadukha sukha kshami.
The one who has no hatred for all beings, who has the disposition of a friend, who is compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from I notion, equal in pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. These verses from here till the last. These verses from here till the last, but not in the chapter, talk about the person who is a sannyasi.
Kshamyatam, Sumaji, it is but one in the chapter. These verses from here till the last, but one in the chapter.
Last but one in the chapter. Okay. All right. So these verses from here till the last but one in this in the chapter talk about the person who is a sannyasi, a jnani. Even though later he says that devotee is beloved to me. Sa bhaktaha me priyaha. He is not talking about the devotee that we commonly understand, the one who makes a division between himself and Ishvara due to ignorance. If a devotee had this notion of difference between Shiva, between Jiva and Ishvara, between Jiva and Ishvara, he would not have the qualifications mentioned in this verse. These are attributes only of a person who's a
kritakritya,
who has found fulfillment through knowledge, through knowing that by nature he is free from any limitation. Because of that knowledge, he is spontaneously free from hatred, dvesha, etc. So these qualifications are meant to describe a wise person, not a devotee or a karma yogi. But they are told with the seeker in view. If you want to be free from hatred, well, that happens to be the nature of Atma. If there is no doubt or vagueness from the nature of Atma, if there is no doubt or vagueness that the nature of Atma is fullness, Ananda, the expression in interacting with the world will be based in that Ananda and will express as love, the one basic emotion that modifies into compassion, friendliness, etc., as the situation requires. These are all expressions of one Ananda. Though these qualities describe a wise man, they are not meant to judge whether a person is wise or not. They are purely a description of those values and attitudes that a seeker should cultivate. So, seeker should cultivate these values. Advaita Sarvabhutanam, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, the one who is free from hatred, Adveshta, towards all beings, Sarvabhutanam. This is one of the most important qualifications of a sannyasi. Shankara says, even though a person may cause him some pain, the jnani does not entertain any hatred or ill will towards the person. For him, this is very natural because he sees all creatures as himself. Though this is an expression in keeping with the Shastra, psychologically speaking, this is how it works. Hatred arises only when someone can make you unhappy. If someone cheats you and you feel cheated, naturally you will hate that person. You have been deceived and feel outraged. If you depend upon the world, you will definitely divide the world into objects of raga and dvesha. An object which you think makes you unhappy, you will naturally hate. But if you have inner freedom concerning your dependence upon the world, but if you have inner freedom concerning your dependence upon the world for your fullness, your vision is purely objective and love is your natural expression. I'll read this again. But if you have inner freedom concerning your dependence upon the world for your fullness, your vision is purely objective and love is your natural expression. Wow. Dependence upon the world for your fullness. Your vision is purely objective and love is your natural expression. You have no resistance to a person being as he or she is. You may not be able to change them, even though you know a change would have changed the entire society. Even a wise man may have many people around him, some of his own disciples, whom he cannot totally change. That is because it is very difficult for people to change. They will praise the wise man, attributing all that is good to him and not to themselves. And all the time, the teacher is saying, you are everything. But if you project all that is good onto someone else, you can continue to be as you are. And that is easier than changing, because change is very painful. Then again, if you do not change, it is also painful. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. The commitment to change expressed in that prayer will take care of it. If you say a wise person does not hate, it is not a sanction for the ignorant to hate. The point is, no person has a reason to hate another in as much as a person is what he is, because he cannot be otherwise. If he could, he would certainly change. Behavior that causes pain to others also causes pain to the one who inflicts it. Naturally, a person would want to change such behavior. The fact that he does not shows very clearly that he cannot. It is foolish to want the world to be entirely according to your wishes, even though they may seem valid. The changes you may wish for a person may definitely be good for him and those who relate to him. The problem is, the person may not share your values, and even if he does, changing to conform to them is not a simple matter of will. Certain things where an action is involved, you can change by will. You can decide to walk a mile a day and do it. You can always force yourself to do an action. But inner change is a different matter. Will only confuses the issue here. Commitment to change is fine, but by simply willing, one does not change. By simply willing, one does not change. It is something like somebody asking you to love him. You cannot do anything about it. It is something that has to happen. Only by prayer can people hope to change. Wow. Only by prayer can people hope to change.
Can you read this paragraph once more? Then again, if you do not change.
Then again, if you do not change, it is painful. So we pray to invoke the grace for the necessary changes to take place. The commitment to change expressed in that prayer will take care of it. If you say a wise person does not hate, it is not a sanction for the ignorant to hate. The point is, no person has a reason to hate another in as much as a person is what he is, because he cannot be otherwise. If he could, he would certainly change. Behavior that causes pain to others also causes pain to the one who inflicts it. Naturally, a person would want to change such behavior. The fact that he does not shows very clearly that he cannot. It is foolish to want the world to be entirely according to our wishes, even though they may seem valid. The changes you may wish for a person may definitely be good for him and those who relate to him. The problem is, the person may not share your values, and even if he does, changing to conform to them is not a simple matter of will. Certain things where an action is involved, you can change by will. You can decide to walk a mile a day and then do it. You can always force yourself to do an action. But inner change is a different matter. Will only confuses the issue here. Will only confuses the issue here. Commitment to change is fine, but by simply willing, one does not change. It is something like somebody asking you to love him. You cannot do you cannot do anything about it. It is something that has to happen. Only by prayer can people hope to change. If you can understand that a person behaves as he does because he cannot help it, and if you see yourself from that person's point of view, you will find that you have to change. We always think that the other person should change. Well, he is equally free to think that you should change. If you analyze it, you find that you have no right to will others to change. The maximum you can do is to change yourself. Then, if you really let others be what they are, you find there is no hatred. Hatred comes, as I said in the beginning, only when somebody makes you unhappy. The truth is, nobody makes you unhappy. Should we stop here? Or Manana? Or you want me to read?
I believe, yeah. So it is page 377 we have to do, right? Okay. It is so much in line with what Percy ji had been telling us every time. It is so much in conformity with his discourses. Yeah, I'll just read the shloka. I think we did 12th and 13th, right? 12th and 13th. I'll just read 11th. I think I started with the repetition of 11th. अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मध्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यतात्मवान्. Then, even if you are not able to do this, being whose practice, commitment is dedicating all actions to me, then being one whose mind is disciplined, give up the result of all actions to me. श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानं शिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागाच्छान्तिरन्तरम्. Knowledge is better indeed than practice of yoga. Meditation is superior to knowledge. Renunciation of the results of actions is better than meditation. Because of renunciation, there is peace immediately. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karuna eva cha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukha kshami. The one who has no hatred for all beings, who has the disposition of a friend, who is compassionate, free from possessiveness, free from I notion, equal in pleasant and unpleasant circumstances, and indeed one who is naturally accommodative. Please close your eyes and then we will share our takeaways for today. Hari Om. We just have little time for Manana. So my takeaway for today is, as the Swamiji has beautifully explained, it reminded me of that story of that sage who was rescuing the scorpion, although he kept on biting him. So that was one thing. And another thing, as Persiji always tells us, do not judge anybody and continue expressing your love and compassion for everyone around you in any situation. Yeah, I request everyone to share their takeaways. Dhanyavad. Sumaji, kindly take over.
Yeah. For me, it is the prayer part which, in addition to whatever we discussed today, the thing about prayer, that this is very powerful, and we must have that commitment in our prayer also. Because Swamiji has said the result will depend upon the commitment of the time of prayer. And the other is how you cannot make someone change because you want them to change, because change is something that has to come from within, and that depends on values of what each one has. So it's very difficult to change. So I guess it is the prayer. We can only pray for the grace to make that change come about, I suppose. So this is what I gained today, besides what we already read about yesterday about the Shanti. Only in Shanti knowledge will blossom. So for Shanti, you must meditate. And to purify your antakarna, you need to do karma yoga in accordance with the dharma. So this is my takeaway. Who would like to share their what they gained from?
I would like to share my personal experience that without probably having this kind of profound knowledge, it was through experience I gained the same thing. Like earlier, when I just became a teacher, I was taking jail courses, I was taking the ordinary basic course also. But I was not at that time a corporate course teacher. And I used to take military courses also. In the jail courses, I understood that I need not sit in judgment over people, accept them the way they are, just as they are. That was a big learning point for me. And I learned this more practically being a Parsi and coming into this whole not taking vegetarian, not taking alcohol. There was a lot of issues at home between, say, my parents and my wife, etc., thinking that I would become an ashramite. And Guruji saying, no matter what, you give unconditional love with total dispassion. Very difficult to fathom those words at that state when I was a new teacher. I did not have this profound wisdom with me. But I learned not to sit in judgment over people over there. I went on giving unconditional love. If I could not tolerate the kind of whatever was being done, I would just leave home, wear my kurta, and go and sit in an open field. Maybe if it's even afternoon, and hear the Rajabai Towers bell tolling 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like that. Because all the other volunteers were working, all of us were working. I gave up my job. I was eccentric, dogmatic, whatever. And I came fully onto this path. Then this was one thing that I learned, that keep giving unconditional love. Don't sit in judgment over people, and with total dispassion. The second thing I learned was that when I was taking a military course, that too earlier in my career, there were a lot of people like lieutenant colonels, etc., who went through. the course beautifully with me. But there came a time when the three big brass of the army were there, and they were like they had led battalions into war in our wars with neighboring states. And those people came, one came with a pipe in his hand. And unfortunately, I was not having the ability to deal with them at that point of time in a skillful manner as required. These three top brasses were also sitting in the course, and maybe somebody had talked them into the lieutenant colonels and okay, it's wonderful, and you will become stress free, and we all have stress and all. Must have been told to them. But when we start our course, we start with no alcohol, no tobacco. So is this the art of living or art of dying? All those kind of comments started coming from there. And I let loose. But by the point when I came to no smoking, the first commandant who had come with the pipe in his hand walked out, and the other two followed behind. Believe me, my heart sunk at that time because I knew these three were the major game changers for army courses. And I felt that I had let the organization down. And that night, I went on thinking, where am I at fault in this? This is what the manual said. This is what I did. And when you keep on and on and on, where am I at fault in this? Then slowly you will realize that yes, there was something that you could have done differently. And then the point came to me that you start in those days we used to have forms, and the receipt was the this thing we used to tear it off with a ruler and give it to the person who has made his payment in full. And there it was written loose coating, bring loose clothing, bring your own water bottle, etc. Were some instructions given. So and there also it was written uh, about alcohol, I think something, but that was the third or fourth point. And the way I learned to do it was like make them read the rules of the course. Loose clothing, yes, you will be able to do yoga fast. Okay, so pass. Everybody will wear loose clothing and pass. Like that, I started doing that. And the acceptance, because they were reading the rules, not me, laying down the rules, made a game changing ability that I developed thereafter. That I was not laying down rules. We are hard taskmasters sometimes when we become teachers. And then when I finally became a corporate teacher, that time Gurudev said, let them be with their ego. Don't try to take them beyond that barrier, sort of. Let it be. Like, just accept them the way they are. Like, they may be egoistic or whatever. Just go through the course in a normal manner. For the jail inmates, he had told me, the inmates who are there, if 30% are transformed, I'm 100% successful, is what he had told me at that time. And I believe 70 to 80% were transformed. For every jail course I took one jail course every month nearly in was earlier phases when I was in Kulaba. 55 to 60 was what we could have in one barricade. One barricade was dedicated for yoga classes, as it is called over there, for the art of living. And the transformation could be seen because they painted Gurudev's uh, portrait on the wall. Somebody painted something else, some other religion. Muslims painted their uh, Kaaba or whatever it is called. They painted there this thing, and they grew flowers and they would put flowers there on that wall. That was the change that's made me realize that the transformation is taking place in jail courses. So I never set in judgment over them. I never looked down upon them. Many people said, what change? But we have to work towards bringing about transformation in society. And that can only happen when we don't sit in judgment over people. We just accept them the way they are. So I learned all this through experience. And now it is fortified with the knowledge that we are getting from this wonderful Gita paragraphs that you all are reading right now. It is, I mean, it is getting solidified. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Percy ji, I have one question. How do we work on ourselves to change? Could you give us some clues?
First, you have to be in acceptance of the way that you are, just as you are. When I accepted, okay, I could have done something differently, wherever I am fault. See, normally we end up blaming the manual or blaming what can I do about it. The rules are have to be read in the first. That is what the manual is saying. But where was I at fault in that? Was the way I always looked at it. Even in the corporate world, I grew up to be VP marketing only because of this. In any given challenging situation, how could I have done it differently? Where am I at fault in this? And we had testing times. We moved from Lotus to Excel and all that. And the office staff was not ready to change over. But because of my ability to guide them, to shelter them, to nurture them, they came out beautifully till they even became the head of the computer department, one of them. And they still remind me and they talk to me that I got a promotion and all that. So, I mean, wherever we have to look inwards in our own self, how could I have done it differently? In any challenging situation where we find that we have not failed or we could have done it better or whatever you want to put it at. And being in acceptance is very important, especially, see, if you, how will your family people accept you that there is a change in you, that this course has made a difference to your life, unless they see the changes in you? Your own family members are the ones who examine you the most. Other people from the outside world, you can say mind is like a kite, all that kind of a thing. And the breath is like the string and you can pull it. And then through the breath, you can control the mind. And sometimes they are also dazed as to what is this man talking about in the intro talk. So they will judge you the most only when they see that change in you. That is why so many times Gurudev says that our presence just radiates from the glow on our face when we are in any company. The way we are, the calmness, the contentness that we show by our mere presence, then that weightage is there in the words that come out of our mouth. Jai Guru.
Thank you, Pasiji. Also, like Pasiji said, acceptance is the biggest this thing. Apart from that, respecting their views, also their what outlook they have, you have to have respect for that also. You should not demean them, or you should not feel that you are superior. You have to respect their that whatever their views are. Then also you will have that uh, there will be a that samatva bhav you will have. Then it is a change that you have to have in yourself. It is not that you want to change them. It is that you have to change yourself, your attitude towards them, and working upon only on ourselves. We
Today, in
cannot
one
change.
of the paragraphs, it was said so, this thing, it was said over there that see the divine in everybody.
Yeah.
See the divine in everybody. In one of the verses that we read, it was said, so if you see the divine in everybody, then you will automatically not label them as non-knowledgeable, ignorant. You will not label them. Once you are not labeling anybody, then you are not labeling yourself. That part of acceptance where your ego merges with the others is going with the beyond the ego state, and that is what is known as the Atma state, isn't it? When we see the presence of the divine in everybody, including ourselves, then we are in acceptance. So taking that acceptance a step further is not labeling anybody as ignorant.
Jai Gurudev, thank you so much for sharing all of this, Parsiji. For me, when we were reading, listening to this today, especially the point of karma falatyaga, what came to me was accepting people and situations as they are. That was so profound in that the moment you accept, you attain that peace, that you are in that stable center where you're not either elated, neither are you too depressed. You're in a balanced state of mind, and that itself is the result. I mean, it is grace that gets you there. So that is one thing that came to me, and not to see intention behind others' mistakes. That is the second, and the fact that if you continue to live life wanting the world and people around you to change according to what you think they should be, you're still in a very, should I say, kindergarten level. We need to grow up. And for that, we use the will, self will. And for that, prayer is the highest form of expression of the self will. So, with all this, equipped with all of this, keeping the virtues, the qualities of a Sthita Prajna, of a Jnani, those will become our guide. This Adveshta, Sarvabhutana, Maitra, Karuna, Evacha, all of that. That is our roadmap towards this. And being a karma yogi is accepting situations and people as they are. And taking, all the 5 points, knowledge points are so in sync with what we've been learning in the last few days, especially in chapter 12. Yeah, Jai Gurudev.
One thing is like this, we are talking about this Adveshta, Adveshta Sarvbhuta Nam, like you don't have, you should be free from hatred. But still, like for speaking for myself, like it is the person who cheats you, and you are suffered because of that. Though you are doing your best, still if you get cheated, but still it is very difficult to forgive people. Still, like still for me, that you are doing your best, and still you are being cheated. That still pricks you in the heart, and it is not very easily it's not that you have that dvesha feeling for that person. Still I'm not able to go over that. It's still you feel bad. We read here that the who you deceives you, you feel outraged, and you that again you go into that raga dvesha. So it makes you unhappy. You naturally hate, that hatred comes even though you think that it is the prarabdha, or it is something which I have done earlier, but still that to nullify that feeling is still difficult.
I think being in knowledge, being in this wisdom is what will slowly and gradually get us out of that space as well. I
Yeah.
agree with you that momentarily you're taken away by that the
Yes.
ignorance overshadows it. But when you're more and more in wisdom, which is what Gurudev said yesterday in the wisdom series, he talked about letting go. And that letting go is so in sync with the karma phala tyaga. When you let go and you surrender, you're in that centered space. That is one. And second is abhyasa, jnana abhyasa. The jnana abhyasa is so important. You need to stay in wisdom to remain, as he said, in high voltage. If you're in high voltage, then you'll be able to accept everybody around you. There was a question that someone asked. He said, how do we tackle with negative people around us, all the negativity around us? He said, just embrace them. Embrace it. The more you resist, the more it will trouble you. The moment you embrace it, then you're in that peace. You're centered. Then everything that happens, whether it is joyful, whether it's something that gives you a lot of joy, you'll not be so elated that you're off balance, and neither you'll be so depressed if something not so nice happens. So wisdom is the key. Let go and wisdom.
Yeah, thank you.
One more practical experience. Mostly all my knowledge is based on practical experience. Is that people come that somebody out of a relationship cheated on them, like somebody earlier was talking about it. So either it's a cheating in relationship or somebody is deprived of some wealth, cheating in wealth. These are two cases which come very frequently to us as art of living teachers. And I say that when we have done this wonderful knowledge where we see that some amount of the karmas that we have to go through in this birth is because of our past birth karmas also. Maybe we may have cheated in a relationship earlier, or maybe we had cheated somebody else or deprived them of their wealth, which with interest we have to repay here in this birth. Looking upon that, also we would become available to forgive that person. Maybe that aversion to that person would decrease if thought process stabilizes our minds. Out of a disturbed mind, nothing can be achieved. Where are we if we keep on being averse to situations and people? With a disturbed mind, where will we be able to progress? So raga, dvesha have to be given up. Desires have to be given up. In all bondages, if you want liberation, if you want moksha, you have to give up all bondages to cravings and aversions. Jai Guru.
Very beautiful discussion today. Should we close here today? Sumaji, you want to chant the concluding prayer?
So let's close our eyes and we'll make a prayer for ourselves. That this is what comes to my mind, that we will sincerely work towards at least overcoming some of our own limitations for our own shanti, inner peace. So prayer is what I think is the best form, which we got. That is the only thing that will bring about the grace for the change. So this is what I have in my mind. Whatever you wish to have in your mind, you have. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Gurudev.